Hi everyone, this is Elena Kraus and welcome to another card video. In this video, we're going to use some of the new release Picket Fan Studio stamp sets and one stamp set from this release, from the March release, and one from the February one. So let's get started. We're using the Rescue is My Favorite Braid that was from the February release, and we're using the classic Houndstooth stamp set from the March release. So I'm using here a panel of white cardstock, and I'm gonna stamp the sentiment from um, Rescued is My Favorite Braid, and I'm centering that onto my panel. And I'm using the Picket Fan Studio Intense Black Hybrid ink to stamp that sentiment. I'm using the MISTI. I'll stamp that a couple times to get that nice intense black color. So I think that's good enough. Next, what we'll do, we'll stamp the little doggy from the same stamp set. I'm positioning it in the center, so when I move my cardstock left and right, I'm not going over the corners of my MISTI, the edges of my MISTI. So I'm positioning that little dog in the center, and we're gonna do some rainbow stamping. We'll stamp it 5 times in rainbow order. So first I'll start with Aquatini. So here I position the grid paper because on the black base was a little harder to see. So the grid paper helps me move that paper left and right for 1 inch for each repetitive stamping. So next I'm going with fuchsia, and actually that was partly that dress, and then I'm going with, actually this was fuchsia, and now I'm going with party dress, I apologize. And then I'm moving it up and repeating the same thing. I'm using the green, the lime Reiki, and then I'll use sticky torch for the yellow. I make sure that I clean my stamp between each stamping because I'm using different colors, and I started from the darker and I went toward the light. Next, what I'll do, I'll trim the panel down to 3.5 by 5.5 inches. Next, I'm taking some pool color of cardstock, and I'll stamp that Houndstooth background on the edge because we're just going to use a strip. So here I cut first a panel that's 5.5 inches tall, and I stamped it using Versamark ink. Then I decided to use a larger piece of paper of cardstock so I can trim that down to the size I needed. So I'm positioning that there in the corner, and when I stamped it here the second time, my paper moved a little bit. I didn't notice that because when I lifted it up, it pulled the paper onto the stamp, and I didn't notice and didn't realign that paper in my MISTI. So I'm stamping it one more time, making sure we have even coverage, and I'm using white embossing powder to emboss that section. Next, I'm using my heat tool to melt that embossing powder, and what I'll do at the end is trim it down to size that I need it for the strip for the side of my card. So I'm cutting it down to 5.5 inches tall, and then I'll do about, I'm kind of realigning there, make sure that it's straight because I didn't stamp it perfectly straight, so I'm kind of straightening that corner there, that edge. So I'm cutting down to 1.5 inches wide, maybe more, like about 2. And I have here white top folding note card that I will adhere that strip of pattern, stamp pattern, and then I'll adhere my panel with the sentiment and the little dogs, making sure that I'm aligning it with the edges of the card, and then I'll trim off the bottom of that white panel that was sticking out, that was going off that note card. Next, to kind of ground that panel, I'm using a thin black strip of cardstock. I'm using some precision glue pen from Hero Arts to adhere that onto the line between the panel and the background. Next, I'll add just some dewdrops, like clear dewdrops, which will finish my card. So I'm using here Hero Arts lacquer pen to adhere those. It's very strong adhesive, and it will make sure that those little dewdrops don't come out. So here's a little close-up of the card that we just made. And that's all for me today. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel as well as visit my blog. Thanks for watching. Bye!